is the thing? What? It's a brand. Brands of rice.
Brands of rice.
It has a Z in it.
Z? Oh my god. I don't know, but this is gonna be the intro.
Hello everyone, and welcome back to the Wednesday Night Gentlemen Multimedia Empire official podcast. You are listening to episode number 43. On this show, warning, we talk about politics. I'm your host, Midget Radio.
Wow. Wow. We're
Should we
keeping
start
all.
over?
No, fuck no. Keep going. We're keeping all of this.
And with me is Tactic Angel, my extremely libertarian and wise co-host.
Hello. An enthusiastic hello.
I am in fact Tactic Angel, and that is Midget Radio, my murderous socialist friend. We have a 2-drink minimum before starting to talk about politics.
Because fuck it, we're already screwed it up now. I'm at least on 3 or 4 at this point. Are you?
I don't measure, but
Really?
I usually
Okay.
don't. I don't know how you would.
Well, you know,
You
I
just
have a glass.
you
I
just pour it until it looks okay.
Okay. All right. Okay.
So I'm probably somewhere in the 2 to 4 range. I don't know.
Okay. Okay.
I have brought up with me in case I need more, because God only knows how long this episode's gonna last. His oh God. His Majesty the King, a blended Scotch whiskey, which I would describe as smooth,
Okay.
and not overpowering in any sense. Almost to the point where it's annoying. Like I want
What?
more
Really?
Scotchy flavor than this.
Wow. Really?
This is not Scotchy or peaty enough for me.
Is it almost like, because we usually compliment, certainly the Japanese with their Suntory and their Akashi, how smooth that fucking whiskey. Are you saying this is smoother, almost like approaching tastelessness, or?
I would put it in a different direction, because the Japanese Akashi or Toki or whatever, you tend to get into, I don't know, there's a certain silkiness to the flavor.
Yes.
And this tastes not so much silky as it does watery, perhaps.
Oh, wow. Yeah, okay, I can see it. Yeah, silky is an absolutely great term, I think, to describe the Suntory and the Akashi. But watery, yeah, that sounds bland and kind of terrible.
It's less interesting. It's not terrible. I don't want to slam it. It's just not flavorful enough. I guess if you were to introduce somebody to like something that has a peaty flavor, maybe this would be a good place to start, because like I remember drinking Scotch when I was in college and thinking, oh my God, why?
Yeah.
And now I
Yeah.
am of a very different mind.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, it always gets compared to iodine. I feel like everybody's like, Scotch, it tastes like fucking iodine.
Really?
Which I don't know why people know what iodine tastes like, but yeah, that's
I assume that it tastes a lot like burnt earth,
yeah. I don't know.
which is what it is.
I
Anyway,
don't know. I hear that
what do
iodine.
you have?
I'm
Midget
still
Radio?
with the Glenlivet. I haven't fucking moved, so I'm still with the Glenlivet. It's
Scotchy.
It's fantastic.
It's gonna be.
I think it's a perfect Scotch. It's a perfect fucking Scotch. It's completely inoffensive. It's tasty. It's smooth. It's fantastic. It's a perfectly inoffensive Scotch.
His Majesty the King does smell very nice, though.
That's nice. Good, nice bouquet. It's good.
Bouquet, yes, very, very good. Okay, so, listener,
It's plural for sure. So.
we are going to be talking about the State of the Union address. The State of the Union is
Strong.
Article 2.
Isn't it usually
Article
strong?
2, Section 3, the U.S. Constitution requires that the president of the United States address Congress about the State of the Union. Thus, we have the State of the Union address. And it's an annual bit of political pageantry where usually both houses get together, the Supreme Court, several members of the military, honored guests, and random lucky people get to watch the president talk about how he sees the world and what he wants to do about it.
Sure.
This is going to be a little... Yeah, we're not going to do Midget Radio, first impressions of the state of the
do I get to give a star rating on this and then we go into spoilers? But
7 stars. All right. Let's just talk, first of all, we'll just go ahead and say, what is your overall impression of the State of the Union?
Just like in general, like independent of who the president is, or, you know.
Independent of the... Okay. I mean, like, this was I would say this is a fairly normal political speech. It was of a very long one.
Yeah.
But I would say that this State of the Union could have been delivered by almost any president who was president at this time.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, there's nothing, it's a fucking State of the Union address. I mean, yeah, it's just, I guess the only remarkable thing about it is that it was given by Donald Trump, who, you know, depending on who you are, right? The expectation is that Donald Trump, who is not, or at least who was not a fucking politician, would, I don't know, come out with his fucking dick hanging out and, you know, eating a hamburger while he's giving this fucking speech. I mean, I have no idea. But this was not that. It was a pretty fucking typical goddamn State of the Union address. So, you know, I don't really have a whole lot to say about it. I didn't see any fires. Nothing blew up. So, you know, call that a success, I guess. Like,
I would say, yeah, for the most part, it was a relatively unremarkable, speech.
Yeah.
I felt like he played it. I mean, you expect a certain amount of partisan spin, but I felt like he played it reasonably down the middle. He certainly, when you come to Donald Trump, gloating is an option.
Yeah.
Provocation is an option. And we didn't really get much of that, which was kind of nice.
No. So I will say that, and this isn't to bash on Trump really at all, but the State of the Union itself, and this has been true for fucking decades now, practically. This is actually kind of the perfect vehicle for a person like Donald Trump, who generally likes to brag about himself and his accomplishments. That's what this fucking thing is designed for. At least that's what it's become. Certainly, and that's how it's been for a long time. For the president to get up there, talk about all of his badass accomplishments and what a fucking genius he is, and to receive shitloads of standing ovations in response to that. So in a way, it's, you know, it plays to his strengths for sure. And in that sense, I mean, there's absolutely nothing offensive about the State of the Union has been a piece of political pageantry for a fucking long time now. And he played right into that. And, you know, so we got, you know, I think we got generally what any American would have expected from this.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I always get a little bit wary about, particularly like this year, there was a lot of emphasis on the economy.
Sure.
On taxes, on, you know, basically increasing levels of employment beyond what's expected.
Yeah.
Or projected. I guess expected and projected are more or less the same thing here. But I always feel weird about the president being like super into that. I feel weird about it when it's like economy's bad. fuck that guy. And it's like, honestly, the president doesn't have a shit ton of stuff to do with it.
No.
And then to turn around and in the good times, it's like, oh, look at all the beautiful things that I did.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I don't know. I think if you follow economic news, you would be of the mind that we are overdue for a downturn. Now, I don't know how that works when, like, we have not had a really robust recovery.
No, and there is some possibility that we're actually just now starting to see maybe a bit of a downturn, but yeah. Like, very recently, but yeah.
Yes. After the State of the Union.
Yes. Yeah.
But I think that has more to do with, like, people forgot that interest rates can be raised.
Yeah.
Like, they don't have to be zero.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I don't know. I think that'll usually correct itself.
Yeah. For the most part, it does.
We certainly don't want a shit ton of inflation.
No.
But anyway, if in like a year, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, like the economy is shit and Trump is our president, is he gonna walk out there and be like, sorry guys, I screwed up? Like, that never happens.
No, of course not. I mean, the voters probably would hold him accountable, as is pretty typical. But yeah,
and I'm not fully on board with the idea of just how great those numbers are, because I mean, like, there's a part, like, when I hear the economy added $200,000 or
200 jobs,
jobs, $1 a job, 200,000 jobs. I think that's not very good, because
it's in a month, like, right? It's usually on a monthly basis.
Yeah. But like the monthly basis, I think you have to get in the area of 250 in order to keep pace with people graduating versus retirements and whatnot.
Yeah, that sounds about,
But then again, I'm like, what was January? Usually the numbers in January are pretty freaking grim.
Yeah.
Because you get rid of all your extra staff from the holiday.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. I am more concerned about rising wages, and that has more to do with a lot of the other things that are discussed, though they weren't discussed in relationship to Jesus. Rising wages.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I guess there were a couple things that I took away from it.
Okay.
Because, like, a lot of this is, you write a State of the Union, and I swear that on the teleprompter is probably like parentheses, wait for applause, because they know.
Oh yeah.
What the applause lines are.
Yeah.
Nobody's just like,
it's a fucking pageant through and through. Yeah. It's always been that way.
There is. And I don't know. It's just frustrating sometimes to watch these things, and it's frustrating no matter who's in charge, because sometimes it's like,
yeah. I mean, no shit. Like, as much as I dislike Donald Trump, it's a state. This is a State of Union that is absolutely in character with every other fucking State of the Union we've had since at least you and I have been fucking alive and paying any attention to this shit.
Yep.
So, yeah. I mean, I don't.
I guess there are just a couple of times where you had the cutaway, and it just struck me as like, would it kill you to just pretend to be happy about that?
Yeah. You lie. You lie.
And
who cares?
I mean, well, I think that other than at a couple of points, the opposition behaved itself relatively well in terms of not jeering too much.
Based on the fucking standards of today, I guess. Yes. Yeah.
It got a little dicey in the immigration. People started yelling, and it's just like,
yeah. I didn't hear one distinct thing, so I guess that means something. But what the fuck, man? It's all show. Like it's all show. Like it's as much as it's a performance for the fucking president, and it's a goddamn performance for the opposition as well. They've got to show. They've got to put on a goddamn show.
The thing that I thought was weird, though, in respect to this, is there were a couple of lines, and you saw Nancy Pelosi looking like somebody had run over her dog, or she had something in her teeth, and I don't remember exactly what it was.
I don't know.
I do remember at some point, like, and I understand if people don't think that Trump is responsible for this, but on a certain level, I also think these people should be happy about this. And I think also that it would be important for their people to see that they're happy about this. And it was
okay.
It was like you had the Black Caucus members sitting together, and it's like,
all very
Black
colorful.
Unemployment is at its lowest point in history.
Yeah.
And everybody stands up and they're like, oh.
Yeah, yay, okay. Black unemployment.
And it's, I don't know that Donald Trump has much to do with that.
No.
I rather suspect that he is not significantly more or less, influential to that number than he is any other part of just the general economy.
Right.
But it's just like, it's okay to be happy about that.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
it's not. I mean, these are hyper partisan times. So, if you're a Democrat, you can't be. You have to show. It's not. I guess it's not any different than it has been before. I expected to see just rank opposition from the Democratic Party, which is what you would typically expect to see from Republicans during a Democratic administration. It's not. I can't stress this enough. Under the presidency of Donald fucking Trump, we are not going to see some kind of like meeting of the minds or like a meeting in the middle or anything like that. I would absolutely expect the kind of hyper partisan reaction to Donald Trump from the Democratic Party that we typically saw from the Republican Party and the fucking Tea Party during the Obama years. I mean, it's just how America is right now. Hyper fucking partisan. And if Donald Trump somehow, like, let's say Donald Trump actually found the fucking cure for racism. Let's just say that was it, and that there was some way to actually measure that. The Democrats would sit during that portion as well. Because that's how it fucking is. That's just how it fucking is. I mean, that's how it is. That's how it's been. And, so I can't say I'm really surprised.
I'm not super surprised. Like, okay, so usually how this goes is there's a ringleader. And sometimes you can catch the sideward glances, right?
Yeah.
So everybody, like, the president says something, the minority looks to the minority leader to see, is this something that we are okay with?
As a party, yes. Absolutely.
And then if the minority leader stands, then it's okay to clap.
Yeah.
And like, oh my gosh, that annoys me. It does make me like you will see people break from it. You saw people break from it during the Obama years, and you saw people like Joe Manchin, who's probably going to be in the political fight for his life here in a couple months anyway. he would stand up and he would clap and support the things that he individually thought were okay.
Yeah.
Even if everybody behind him was,
yeah,
eating a bunch of Sour Patch Kids.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It still annoys me, and there's a part of me as a person who votes pretty freely and independently that we have that, and it's just come on, guys.
Well,
there's certain things that it
sports.
seems but it shouldn't be.
I understand that, but that's absolutely how it is. And until until the voting American sees that as just horseshit, it sees the Democrat versus the Republican as a fucking horseshit dichotomy. That's how it's gonna be. So we don't really have a choice, I think, on that front. Because that's how it is. It's a binary decision every time. And it's unfortunate and it's inaccurate. But that's how it fucking is. So
well,
I don't know.
It just makes me sad. It makes me sad, thinking that Gina Carano isn't going to be starring in tons of movies.
Yeah. The only thing that I'll say this. I watched the whole goddamn thing. And they're always as much as down as I am on Donald Trump and as alien as I find it to be a person to even comprehend the sort of process by which people would vote for that person for president, I mean, is absolutely awful as I find him to be. Oh shit! Now I forgot my point. Oh, the only thing throughout the entire State of the Union, it was a pretty fucking goddamn standard State of the Union. The only thing that kind of got my blood up a little bit was the weird. So he talked. So that it was absolutely a powerful moment in the speech. When he's talking about the fucking M12. What the hell is that gang that he was talking?
MS-13.
MS-13. That's right. So those two families who had their daughters.
Oh God, the guy on the right.
Yeah, just devastating. Just an absolutely goddamn fucking devastating story. Both of their fucking daughters, victims of this gang. So the only thing that kind of the weird juxtaposition of that versus and then you've got the people who are protected under DACA and stuff, and you're and Trump goes far enough to make the point that well, those people who were responsible for the murders of the daughters of these two families came here as unaccompanied minors, and that's why that's why this is such a fucking big deal. And so there's a part of me that's well, Jesus Christ. Yeah, that's a point, but it raises a few questions. Because you're at a certain, you got to ask, they came here as fucking children, right? So I don't understand really what your point. It sounds like the system, once they got here, the system fucking failed. And that's in part, at least, what led to the death of these two daughters of this poor fucking family, or these poor families. But to use that and to compare that to everybody, every single fucking person who has come to America as a child is not right. It just seems it just seemed a little cheap to me. And there's a part of me that's that's not okay. I don't really like the idea of being afraid of Mexican children, or of any fucking child from any goddamn country coming to America for some kind of fucking protection. I don't really like the idea that I'm supposed to be afraid of that. But that was really the only thing that I was that seems a little bit far. That seems a little bit too far to suggest that every fucking kid that comes to America is a potential goddamn murderer. Like, Jesus Christ. Like, I get it, but Jesus Christ. Like,
I caught it too. Cause like MS-13 is a particularly brutal gang.
Sure.
And then like hashtag not all.
Right. Not all,
not all
children.
If you're a simpleton and you think that like because he says one of these people or several of these people are bad, that they're all bad. I don't get that. When people say, like this is a thing that exists, it doesn't mean that all things of this set exist.
I know. It's a symptom of how we are as a country and of how we debate things. It's a symptom of that. Yeah.
And it was such and such a brand, and the engine didn't work. Therefore, none
the
of the
whole
engines
thing is
of
shit.
that car
Absolutely, yeah,
work.
And
there's not one Ford Taurus with an engine that works.
Yeah.
No, if you thought of if people thought of it in that sense, then that's a little bit scary about their.
That's always been,
thinking.
And that's always been the political interpretation, and that's always been that way.
Like, I think it has gotten certainly worse in the last 10, 15 years.
Yeah, 10, 15. Yeah, that's about. Yeah, I'd probably give it about that too.
I don't think there was a problem saying people smuggling drugs. It's like nobody's saying that all Cubans smuggle drugs.
Right.
If they say that a Cuban smuggled drugs to the United States, it's like, calm down.
Yeah.
Calm down.
Yeah.
One does not mean all.
Yeah.
That's why there are different words.
Yeah, it's true.
But, so there was a part of me that recoiled from that because like I saw the guy and it's just crushing.
Yeah. Oh God, absolutely.
And I don't like to feel anything.
Feelings are bullshit. That's true.
And I just want the facts. And I don't want this guy's agony to be some sort of prop. Yeah. And I don't know that that's specifically the case because I don't think the president forced him to be there.
Well, no, of course not.
His choice. Yeah. And that this is probably, for pretty fucking obvious reasons, a legitimate issue for him.
Yeah. I have no doubt about that. Yeah. Yeah.
But it's hard to look at the immigration issue and you can say, okay, here's a kid, he wants to be an American, he's a good egg, etc. Hashtag not all.
Yeah, yeah.
We don't apply the opposite because one illegal immigrant is good, therefore all of them, illegal immigrants are good.
Yeah.
For some reason, we don't apply that logic backwards because I think we know that it doesn't make sense.
Yeah, absolutely. Tag the Angel. I'm so sorry. I gotta let my fucking dog outside because he's crying. We're gonna pause right here, and I'm probably going to introduce music into the edit.
Okay, whatever. So anyway, I mean, we look at people. We never apply the logic backwards, and
yes,
it's because it doesn't make any sense that because like I am a good person that somehow that makes you a good person.
Right.
And I don't like the idea that we can divorce these two things. Because like if you have a permissive immigration system, you're going to get both realities.
Yeah.
And like some of the numbers, if you pay attention to them, are really disturbing. Because a couple of years ago, we had the whole, explosion in unaccompanied minors coming to the United States.
That's right.
And the ICE statistics were like really grim. It's like we can say children, and like part of us immediately goes to like
6 and 7 year olds,
stumbling off of a bus,
right,
into their first grade and saying bye to mommy and whatever. 17-year-old also,
right,
a child,
yeah.
And you end up with like these terrible statistics, like 1 in 3 immigrant or particularly female immigrants that were coming here unaccompanied had been raped.
Yeah.
And And you're like, well, if you figure they're not going to rape the kids who are under a certain age, and you just try to figure out who's actually coming here, like that's a terrible statistic.
Yeah.
It is like, hi, if you are over 12, you've probably been raped.
Yeah.
That sort of thing.
Yeah.
And like, we shouldn't assume because we know one or two people who are good that they are all good. And we shouldn't assume because we know that there are these people that are bad that they're all bad.
Yeah.
We need to come up with a rational solution. And that's kind of why I don't love having to, look, I grieve for that, the father, the mother, the other father, the other mother of those slain children. But I mean, I don't want to have to look at it because I understand that it can affect how I look at what should be a logical issue.
Yeah, it absolutely should be. And that's the thing, like when he was talking about that, it sounded like, because to me it's like, that seems like almost less a failure of the immigration system than it is of just the system itself. That's in, I mean, they're in schools, like they're in American schools at this point. It just sounds like we don't have much of a fucking infrastructure for monitoring the people who have been admitted into the United States. It just, like, that sounds like a little bit of a failure on our part than it does, and that's the issue. And it's just, so in the State of the Union, it's as you would expect it to be. It is presented rather simplistically, and it's generally just designed to emphasize the point that like border security fucking matters, which I don't know, man.
I don't think there's a lot of argument against.
I don't think so either, but that's where we're at as a country. Like that's where we're at. It's like, well, there probably all the Democrats think that border security is bullshit, and all the Republicans think that it's like the most important, and it's the only thing that fucking matters in the world, and that's it. Like you're either on Team Democrat, where you have completely open borders with no fucking security whatsoever, or you're on Team Republican, which is only border security, and that's it, and we don't let anybody in. And that's what the country feels like to me today. That's what the debate fucking feels like, and it's a stupid, asinine debate that reflects, I don't think, anybody's goddamn point of view.
So I don't think that that's entirely true, because like I don't think that the average Democrat would say border security does not matter.
Of course not. Yeah, of course not. That's just how it's portrayed.
5 to 10% who are open borders, who either don't like, state programs or don't understand economic realities.
Yeah.
Who are just like, yeah, go for it.
Yeah.
Live where you want.
Everywhere. Yeah. Doesn't matter.
I get that. I get the posturing too. It's frustrating, and I don't want to rehash that.
Yeah.
I really am going to try not to say all the things that I've already said. But for me, like immigration was the real meat and potatoes of this address.
Yeah. That's the only thing I can remember anyway.
And there are parts of it that, like, when I listen to it, I am of two minds. The first is that there are issues that I have with both the approach and the rationale. And the second is, honestly, it seems like a pretty fair deal.
Yeah.
I'll start with the part that I don't like.
Okay.
By all counts, there are about 800,000 dreamers.
Yeah. Okay.
We want to admit 1.8 million.
Yeah. Well, that's what Trump is talking about. Yeah.
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 But there's immediately a part of you who's like, the noun verb agreement is terrible there. There's a part of you that immediately thinks, who are these additional million people? And then the other part of me says, why?
Yeah.
And like the really cynical part of me says, well, Trump is trying to flip the political debate here.
Yeah.
And make this that the Republicans are the champions of this immigration cause. And you know,
to a degree, it's hard.
Okay.
Well, it's hard because of the fucking wall issue. I mean, it's hard to look at that and be like, I mean, it seems like that's clearly a fucking deal killer.
The 60. Well, I don't love the wall. I would prefer significantly that you take the funding you want to give to the wall, and I don't think we have the money for this wall.
No,
I'm fairly confident that we don't.
No,
and instead you invest that into a department that only verifies whether or not people are supposed to be in the United States and working.
Right. Which you would think we generally already have with that E-Verify system, but
and then you fine the living bejesus out of people who hire people who aren't supposed to be working.
That's a totally fucking coherent goddamn policy. Yeah.
And what have you done? You've taken away the incentive to underpay people.
Yeah.
And
But Tactic Angel, much like Pacific Rim, concrete is the only viable option.
Well, we're not talking about building a 60-foot wall on the southern border. And if it was 60 feet tall, I would be more.
You know those Mexicans are just going to build giant robots that are going to bust through that fucking wall. You know that's what they're going to do.
It's going to take them a while. And by that point, we might be more agreeable to them entering because they've clearly made
wow, your robot advancements have been just amazing.
We need more of those robots. No, but like just in terms of a spectacle, 60-foot wall that stretches as far as the eye can see would be. I've seen a lot of historical landmarks. You know. London, Amsterdam, Nuremberg, all sorts of Rome, beautiful places with lots of history behind it. Pompeii, all these places. I've been to these places, and then like I would make a trip to see a 60-foot wall.
Oh yeah, totally.
And I would look at it and be like, I just don't, I don't understand.
Like, I wonder what all those Mexicans are doing on the other side of that wall.
Do I know that they, in fact, exist? Because it's like there's an entire world between us.
Right? Are there a bunch of Mexicans on the other side wondering what I am doing? Like,
or is there America? Is this where they think that the Earth ends? Who knows? But like
this episode is fucking fantastic.
It's really terrible. Anyway. But like if you approach it from a supply demand perspective, if you take away the demand, the supply will go away. And the people who are left are probably the people who we don't want in our country to begin with.
Right.
They're going to be the people who are running from the law, smuggling drugs, trying to get people into the United States who would not otherwise be admitted into the United States. That would be a much better proposition.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah.
So the part of me that thinks that like, what's up with the extra million people is the part of me that says, I think Trump's trying to make Republican voters out of these people. And I don't think that's right. I don't think that's any more right than Democrats trying to make Democratic voters. Well,
that's a really interesting. I don't think he thinks that fucking far ahead. So that's the only reason I'm questioning that. I don't think that he gives a fuck. I think he just wants people to like him. And
there are two parts of there. I am again kind of a split decision there because like that's one part of it, and that's the shrewd political side.
Yeah.
And the other part of it is like, I'm going to offer them so much that they can't possibly say no.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, I think that's the salesman. Yeah, I think that's all it is. And but then there's a part of me that's like, does he know that the wall is a deal killer, so he'll just put anything on the fucking table. Like, well, I will give the fucking immigrants and everybody in America $1 million personally. But that fucking wall, we got to build that goddamn wall, you know. I mean, if you insist on the wall, you can almost put anything on the fucking table because you know the wall is a goddamn deal breaker.
No, you get kind of mixed responses because you have people who are like open border fanatics, like we were talking about just a few minutes ago, like Gutierrez from Illinois.
Yeah, there's not that many, like, but yeah.
I will build a wall for the Dreamers. And you're like, okay. Like, you can get him on board, but for some reason you can't get other people on board. I don't know.
Well, it's a fiscally ridiculous idea, but
I don't like it, and I don't particularly like the idea of offering like there's a difference between like having a green card and being a United States citizen.
Yeah.
And
yeah. There are gradations of legal fucking residency in the United States. Yeah.
And they're different rights and different, you know, whatever. I'll say this. I don't want to preclude the possibility that somebody who was brought here as a child could never be a United States citizen.
Yeah.
And I think on the general, you have to have, you know, you have to be working, you have to have, you know, some amount of education. You have to be, he said moral. I think what he means is non-criminal.
Whatever. Pay your fucking taxes and do your goddamn job. Yeah.
Well, and not be a criminal.
Yeah.
I think that's the moral part of it. I mean, like, you look at that and you're like, that's fine. At least there's something. So it's not just like, you're a DACA kid, therefore you become a citizen.
Right.
I think that's certainly a bridge too far. I would like to see more on this, but I think as a general outline, education, work, and morality are appropriate.
Yeah.
And I know.
Yeah.
I know that people have complained about, like, well, it's going to take 10 or 12 years, right?
To do what?
For these people to become citizens.
Oh yeah. Well, who gives a fuck? Yeah. I don't care about that. Yeah.
That's way too long. It's like, do you realize how long it takes to become a citizen right now?
Yeah.
If you do it the right way.
I don't have any issue with that. I mean, what's important from a pragmatic perspective is, can they live in the United States of America and have a fucking job, you know, and be able to support themselves and all of that? Like, that's what's immediately important, aside from the citizenship issue. I like, just from a pragmatic perspective, right? What does the fucking individual need to survive in America first? Let's address that first.
Well, and you don't want people to be a burden.
Right.
And there are several ways that they can be a burden.
Yeah.
You can soak up a lot more from society than you're giving back.
Yeah, totally. That's a possibility. For sure. Well, I don't know how common that is, but yeah, it's
probably more common than you think, but
I don't know.
I'm not talking
actually gaining some sort of monetary benefit from the fucking government, more than what you put in. I don't know, but
then you get into like the sort of victimless crimes, and when I say victimless, I mean at least hard to identify exactly who the victims are, but certainly there are of like wage suppression and that sort of stuff, and unnaturally high unemployment. So like that sort of stuff is real. It's hard to quantify because it's hard to point and say this guy is definitely a victim of that.
Yeah.
Therefore, our permissive immigration system is terrible.
Well, yeah. It's a little bit blaming immigrants for things that probably aren't their fault, but yeah.
But I mean, like the other parts of it, like if I understand that compromise is kind of the game, right?
Yes.
So,
That's absolutely the game. From a pragmatic, practical, fucking I need to run a society perspective that the government should generally have. Yes.
So I think that if you were to say that like you represent all of your people and I represent all of the other people,
Sure.
Like, if you are Nancy Pelosi and I am Donald Trump,
Okay.
and that we somehow hold everybody's position effectively,
Okay.
which neither of us do in reality.
No. Nobody pays attention to us, but yeah.
Oh, plenty of people do. It's just usually the other side. I think that we could agree that we're both equally unhappy with this.
Oh God,
but
yeah.
That it would probably be more or less a net benefit to nothing.
Well, yeah. Yeah. That's always, yeah, of course. Yeah. Of course.
That's kind of where I'm at on this.
Of course.
And
yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So
I don't know. I don't know. I think I was actually watching like a Dave Chappelle special, and I thought like he actually kind of hit the overall tone of America, or the tenor of political debate. I think he kind of hit the nail on the head a little bit, because he was bitching a little bit about the media, but see, I think this has always been true. I don't think this is a recent phenomenon, but that the media or whatever will have you believe that, you know, the extreme voices are the norm, and I don't think that's remotely true. I think there is absolutely a ton of room for compromise, and I continue to believe that your average American citizen, whether he voted for Trump or Clinton in 2016, I think that individual is the norm, and I think that that person's more than open to compromise, and generally has a pretty realistic worldview. But that, given the tenor of certainly online debate, and then what we generally see, and what I would agree with is a sensationalized media, that's not representative of your normal or average American citizen. So I think I think increased border security, of course. Do we want to protect the people who are here, and who are generally good, you know, people who are from Honduras or Mexico or wherever the fuck, and who have a job, who are contributing to society? Do we want to keep those people? Of course we fucking do. Do we want to make sure that we don't have goddamn criminals and gang members in the United States from other countries? Of course we don't want to have those fucking people. I mean, that's all generally fucking true, and I think that's what most people believe. But that's not the sense you would get if you pay attention to Facebook, or if you pay attention to fucking CNN. You know, it's either you're a socialist, or you're a fascist, or you're a racist, or you're a fucking open border nut. You know,
you're probably several of these things.
Yeah, it's just,
and
you know,
and in spite of how polar opposite some of those seem to be, you can be both.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's absolutely true. It's absolutely
particularly
true.
if you stray into that middle ground where you don't have, you know, like a Rachel Maddow or a Sean Hannity sort of opinion.
Exactly. Yeah. Like I am introduced in every episode of this fucking show, a goddamn murderous socialist. As much as I am a bloodthirsty motherfucker. I will never deny that. But I don't think a $15 minimum wage at the federal level is at all a rational fucking approach to. I don't think that's remotely goddamn rational. But, you know, do I want to kill you if you think differently than me? Of course I do. But
well, on the bright side, You and I are of remarkably similar opinions on the minimum wage.
Apparently, yeah. And according to that garbage ass 8 values fucking test, apparently we're the fucking same, which is insane. But
we'll find some stupid other internet
because you hate everybody who's not white, and definitely everyone who's not male. So
I'm not sure why you would think that.
I have no reason to. I think CNN told me to think that, and so I do. But
probably. But I don't identify as white, so I'm not sure why that would be the case.
It's true. I identify as Italian. God damn it.
I don't understand the whole pan-Europeanism thing.
I don't know.
The only people who believe in this shit are people who are literally Nazis and people who are on the left.
Yeah.
Like the far left.
Extreme left. Yeah. The ridiculous fucking... I don't know, man. So in a weird way, I do feel like the polarization. So I'll get a little, whatever. Who cares? This episode's completely off topic. The polarization. I do feel like, in some at least small degree, is a product of very basic capitalism, because if you can paint the other side as a kind of extremist opposite, that's gonna generate, YouTube views, that's gonna generate advertising revenue. I think it's in line with the media in general. Like it's in line with their bottom dollar to explain or to portray things, Jesus Christ, as very extremist in nature, because that's what's gonna sell fucking Tide and shoes and all that shit. The advertising revenue has to be taken in consideration with the political debate itself. I mean, you have to sell the news programs. As much as I love Erin Burnett, she's got to as gorgeous as she is, I mean, she's got to fucking sell. She's got to sell the show. So, I just think that's part of it. The polarization is in service to an economic system that is based on advertising revenue. You got to get people to watch this shit. And the best way to get people to watch shit is to get their blood to boil, and to give them something to be angry about.
Well, there's definitely a case to be made that people feel negative emotions more than they feel positive.
Yeah,
emotions.
exactly. Yeah.
And that there is a natural, as a survival instinct, it's necessary.
Yeah.
Because if you feel fear or if you feel anger or threatened or whatever, you need to be aware of that. And you need to extricate yourself from that situation in order to survive.
Yeah.
If you're happy, great.
Yeah.
Whatever. Great.
But it's that appeal to those baser instincts that sells shit in the first place.
Yeah, but it's sold things from the beginning of time. I think it probably has a lot more to do with technology and the ability to find echo chambers and sort of, because, okay, if you look back at like 50 years ago, there were 3 television channels.
Oh, do I pine for those days that I never experienced? Yeah.
Chances are pretty good that if you went to work, you would find somebody who has seen one or the other.
Yeah.
And you would have a common bond.
Yeah.
I don't know who's watching Desperate Housewives. I don't understand why people feel they need to be, suicidal every week watching This Is Us.
Yeah.
I don't understand what Naked and Afraid is. It seems pornographic.
Right, because you're naked. Yeah.
And afraid.
Yeah.
So what do you want to do?
Yeah.
You want to go out on a high note.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, like, nobody's watching these shows. Like, comparatively, like the percentage of people who are watching any program on CBS or NBC or ABC, 50 years ago was huge by comparison to the number of people who are watching. I don't even know. I don't know.
Yeah.
Even Always Sunny. Yeah. How many people watch Always Sunny?
I don't fucking know. Yeah, I don't know.
Probably not that many.
Yeah. Not as many as American Idol, I'm sure. But yeah.
But you don't have these cultural touch points. The internet gives you the ability to go on to imright.com and find all the other people who know that you're right and who will support
you're right and
every single thing and that you say and honestly, and I heard this today listening to a podcast, it's you're shrinking away from the world.
Yes.
You are not taking full advantage of all of the variety. You are not expanding yourself. And when you're not expanding yourself, you're shrinking and you're becoming smaller and you're becoming really less and less of a person.
Yeah, absolutely.
As you do it. Honestly, I don't think of the world that way. I've always thought of my interest in learning things as a pursuit of intellectual honesty, but I thought it was an interesting opinion in terms of how you look at further education, trying new things, going places, whatever.
Yeah.
But there's so few people who consciously make that effort.
Because you don't have to. You don't have to make that effort anymore. Like you absolutely don't need to. Whatever, because it's gotten like the internet, the media in general has gotten so good at targeting the fucking people who already feel the way they feel that all you have to do is reinforce that, and they will watch that shit, and they will sit through the fucking Tide commercials and the Nike commercials for that shit.
Tide is delicious.
Yeah. So there. So you don't. And at a certain it's deeply fucking manipulative. And certainly with the advent of the internet, it's easier to appeal to people along those fucking baselines that, I don't know. There's a part of me that feels like there's people are in some way like the American audience, or maybe just the audience in general, regardless of fucking nationality, it's just primed for that because most people just go to fucking work. They just go to goddamn work and they have their fucking kids to raise. They have a whole host of shit on their plate that they have to fucking deal with because it's right in front of their fucking faces. That if they've got, this channel or this YouTube fucking personality or goddamn whatever that will just reinforce the things that they already believe, that's at least one thing they don't have to think anymore about. They can focus on making their kids lunch for school for the next fucking day and going to work and trying to support their goddamn kid and save for his college and all of that shit. It's just, I don't know. It's just, it's a little abusive.
Well, I think the thing is like, okay, you believe in a fucking lunatic idea, right?
Right.
And you sign on to the internet. You find a community that's dedicated to that. You find a vibrant you find a vibrant community. You have let's say you have 300 people who are posting on this message board,
and they're ready to start the revolution. Yeah.
Reddit or subreddit or whatever. It's like you have 300 people.
Yeah. You
have really an opinion that amounts to 1 in every 100,000 person.
Yeah.
And we were talking about this a couple of weeks ago, either on or off record, about like the sort of social apartheid, because those people, and they can be on the right and they can be on the left, are driving the narrative.
Yeah.
One way or the other, probably both.
Because it sells advertising, but yes. Yeah.
Well, it's also because of, everybody has different value structures and some of that, and we don't have shared experiences and all the other bullshit.
Yeah.
And whatever.
Yeah.
People need to talk to people that they disagree with. It's a good idea.
Goddamn, yes, they do. Yes, they fucking do. Yeah.
I'm looking forward to our next book report.
Me too. Yeah, me too. But yeah, I maybe I'll challenge you a little bit because so I've seen that you have a pretty high opinion of the Rubin Report, which is what's his first name? What's Rubin's first name? I can't think of it now.
Dave.
Dave.
Yeah.
So he has generally a lot of, I would say, at least interesting and thoughtful people on his show. I've watched, or I guess, not watched, but listened to a few episodes of his. And I know you're fairly high on his show. And in general, it seems to me, at least, that your opinion of his show is that, he's able to have like thoughtful conversations with people. I guess just in general. But
I think.
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
I think he does a pretty good job questioning his the people that he interviews. I don't think that he has people who are so out. Let me put it this way: there are two schools of thought in terms of how to interview somebody.
Right.
And one is to be oppositional.
Yeah.
And you can see.
Yes.
Particularly recently, how that can go poorly.
Yeah.
And then you have another, which is I'm going to ask you questions and give you enough rope to hang yourself with.
Yeah. So so in the little that I've seen,
and I think
go ahead.
I think he does a decent job kind of splitting the difference. I think he probably tends towards more give people enough rope to hang themselves with, but he does ask usually the right questions such that person is going to try to get as much rope as possible.
Okay. That's fair enough. I guess in the very little exposure that I've had to him and his show because I've only listened to maybe like 3 or 4, maybe 5 episodes from him with various people. So I absolutely don't intend to make some sort of blanket generalization about his show. But the idea that like it seems like generally the ones that I've listened to at least are people who are absolutely conservative. And I mean, he's clearly somebody who believes in like small government and definitely has like a pretty libertarian point of view. So it doesn't really surprise me, I guess, that like he's able to interview other people who have generally that same point of view, and for it to be cordial and thoughtful and productive. So I don't know really where I'm even going with this point. But it's curious to me. I guess that like there's that strain, and I don't know that it's generally reflective of that strain. And I think the thing that sometimes disappoints me about some of the elements of his show is that like for it to be a cordial and intellectually productive enterprise, you have to have somebody who's completely on the opposite side of the fence. You have to have somebody who is like, I actually think that the government should control fucking every goddamn aspect of somebody's life, and for that to be intellectually productive. I don't really know where I'm going with this because
I think I understand what you're saying. I think probably some of what you're saying is due to like the relative shallowness of your experience with listening to the Rubin Report.
Okay. Yeah, and I'd accept that. Yeah.
Because like recently he had the Weinstein brothers on, or the Weinstein brothers, I should say. Weinstein is somebody different.
Harvey and the Hollywood guys. No. Harvey and
the other ones. The guy from Evergreen College and his economist brother or something.
Okay.
Like that. Okay. He had both of them. They are hardcore, like Bernie types.
Okay.
And they were on just like a day or two ago, and I'm really interested in listening to them because I've heard Brett talk, and I've heard his brother, who I forget his name momentarily, but At this point, it's even lucky that I can speak English.
I know. It's gotten really bad. Yeah.
So, like, I'm interested in listening to that. And this is sad. I understand that you think this is sad. But most of the reason why I'm a cheerleader for that sort of thing is because, like, this should be the new center. The people who are willing to listen to other people.
Yeah.
And, like, I didn't vote for Donald Trump. I'm probably slightly more likely to vote for him in the future than I was in the past.
Ugh.
I don't like. I agree. I agree with that.
I don't think it fucking matters.
That soundtrack. That soundtrack. What? It's that sound effect that you made. But I mean, you have to be able to engage with people who disagree with you.
Yes.
And that is the fundamental, most important part of maintaining a democratic, peaceful society.
Yes.
And without that, it just becomes, you know, a race to the top. Who's going to be our first dictator?
Yeah. Yeah. Jesus Christ. Yeah.
Who wants to burn what down? What statues will remain? You know.
Yeah.
All the stupid shit.
Yeah.
And like in the middle, we have to be willing to say, like, those people over there are full of shit, and those people over there are also full of shit.
Yeah.
The answer is sometimes in the middle. Sometimes the people over there are closer, and sometimes the other guys, they've got a better idea.
Yeah.
And like, that's basically where I'm at with my voting record. That's pretty much what I think in terms of generally how the world is supposed to work or ought to work.
Yeah.
I don't know. You know, ideal state.
Yeah. I get that. And I think sometimes, like, listening to the Rubin Report a little bit, I feel like that's the perspective that they're arguing from. And there's a little bit of an issue that I have with that. That it's almost from the perspective of what is the ideal state. And there's a part of me that's like, we're never going to fucking get there. That's never going to happen. You have got to give more credence to what is the pragmatic reality of where we are right now. And what do we do to address that? Like, for example, and the only issue that I really have with Rubin in general is that I don't think he really challenges his the people he's interviewing enough. And so one of the issues that I had with that was oh God, what's his name? Shapiro's answer to the gay marriage issue. And Shapiro's answer was generally that he doesn't think that the government should even be involved in marriage, which is like, okay, that's not a terrible answer. Like, I understand where he's coming from with that, but it's absolutely worthless. I mean, it is a total fucking rejection of the reality of where the government is with respect to marriage, because there are, like, legal rights. There's a whole bunch of shit that's tied up into that. There's a bunch of practical, pragmatic fucking consequences that are tied up in the fact that the government has a vested interest in marriage, and that if it doesn't recognize a marriage, there are practical and pragmatic consequences to that couple. You have to fucking deal with that. And just the idea that, like, well, I don't think they should have to fucking deal with it. I don't think the government should be interested in the first place is just a worthless response. As far as it's just a worthless goddamn answer, because it totally fucking fails to realize and to account for the pragmatic reality that gay marriages have to fucking deal with, that gay people who are married have to fucking deal with. And that's the only issue that I really have with it. And that's just it ties into my own fucking problem with the idea that, like, so many of these arguments are delineated along ideological values that I think just fail to consider pragmatic realities for people. And that's any government, I think, should be concerned primarily with what are the pragmatic consequences that my citizens are going to face with respect to this policy decision. I think that's generally ignored, and I think that's generally ignored in the overall political debate, because that's usually a harder question to answer when you actually have to consider the human being consequences of a political decision. That shit is generally just fucking washed over. And it's more along the lines of, well, is this a conservative idea, or is this or is this a democratic liberal fucking idea? You know, it's just divorced from fucking reality. At this point, and I don't know that that's though I did hear Ruben actually address that he actually thought that those, in one of the episodes I listened to, he was like, these ideological boundaries make less and less sense as time goes on, and that really, like, if you want a government, that fucking government has got to understand what the pragmatic consequences are going to be for really the majority of its citizens, rather than these larger ideological concepts, which I don't know. I don't think they really mean anything anymore. I just don't think they address. I don't think they really speak to your average American's experiences. I don't know.
Well, I'm not going to talk about that because that's not what we're talking about.
What are we talking about?
We were talking about the State of the Union.
Oh.
I mean, I understand what you're saying. I think Ruben's got some skin in the game when it comes to gay marriage.
Yeah, I mean, of course he does. I mean, of course he does.
Obvious reasons, but I don't think there's. I do not think there is a problem with trying to reach an unreachable star. I think that if you set your sights on it and you try to get as close as you can, that is a cause worthy.
I guess so. I think that, I mean, I see where you're coming from, but like, you have to consider the reality of this is a government. This is a government that
advocating
governs the people, and the people,
that the good should be the enemy of the ideal. I am just saying that you should aim for the ideal, and if you settle for the good, then
you should generally always settle for the good. Is my at least okay. With respect to a fucking government, they should generally always aim for the good rather than the goddamn ideal.
I think you should aim for the ideal and settle for the good.
I think the ideal is a matter of fucking opinion. And the good is generally a matter of, well, let's see how many fucking people are in poverty, and let's see how many people can fucking sustain themselves. That's a pretty good like, there are things that we can fucking measure as a goddamn society, and we can aim toward those fucking things. And that generally should be the function of the government. The rest of it, can be left to the population at large to debate. But god damn it, the government.
So
I don't know.
The rest of the State of the Union address.
What else was it about? I remember the immigration thing.
I felt it was pretty vague.
Yeah, it was. I mean, it was fine. I'm as critical of it as I am of any other fucking State of the Union that I have ever paid attention to.
There are a couple things that I liked about it.
Yeah,
and I liked that he talked about the opioid stuff.
So that's interesting. What do you think the federal government's responsibility is to that issue?
To the extent that I think that the government has anything to do with it, I think that they should. I mean, they have some regulatory control over drugs, right?
Well, of course, yeah, absolutely.
And certainly they have a pretty decent amount of influence over things like you know, professional medical
Yeah.
Organizations.
To a degree.
And
yeah.
to the extent that they can exert pressure to maybe not prescribe as many opioids,
Yeah.
that would be good.
Yeah.
Like, that's a step in the right direction. I don't know.
See, I don't know, Tactic Angel. That's not. I don't know that that's a very libertarian point of view. But yeah.
Well, I'm not ascribing. I'm not advocating any policy that would require the government to do anything other than ask other people to do things.
Right.
And I think that they can have some influence there, particularly if you have fewer people who are being given opioids, then you have fewer people who are going to be, say, potentially hooked on opioids.
Right.
Like, I remember I had to go to the emergency room once.
Yeah.
And the guy said, "Could you tell me on a scale of 1 to 10 how much pain you're in?" And they point to the little chart.
Yeah.
And 1 is a fucking smiley face.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, by the time like 5 is like, I just watched an episode of the evening news.
Yeah.
And I'm like 7. Because he at least looked like he was unhappy.
Oh my God, you are an exaggerated son of a bitch, and I would never pay your injury claim. But yeah, that's
well, the problem was with the scale, right?
Well, 1 to 10. 10 is like the most fucking impossibly extreme goddamn sense of pain that you could ever even comprehend.
Right. But like, we're talking about pain, and it went from happiness to misery. It should have gone from like indifference to I am screaming constantly because I am in so much agony.
Right.
Like, if I am a 10, like, I should not be able to say 10.
Exactly.
It should go up to...
That's exactly right. Yeah. You should not be able to even respond. Yeah.
To 8 or 9, because if it was 10, I would either be unconscious or just screaming.
Yes. Yeah. That's exactly correct. Yeah.
But so I was like 7, and he's like, "I'm gonna give you this prescription for, you know, hydrocodone."
That's pretty high.
And you're like, I would like to amend my answer.
Yeah.
Because, well, first of all, I don't think that, like, hydrocodone doesn't do anything for me at all.
Okay.
Like, literally nothing.
Okay.
So, but then at the same time, I understand this is a hardcore narcotic.
You don't get the dry mouth or anything? Because I definitely get the dry mouth with the...
I would say no more than taking an aspirin or a Tylenol.
Wow.
It has, like, if you take an average, like, I had my wisdom teeth taken out. I had some pain. I took one of those, and it was like, yeah, this is exactly the same.
Okay.
Whatever. It was just like, I'm just gonna deal with it.
Okay. Yeah.
So in this other case, they were just like, "How much pain are you in?" 7.
Yeah.
He's like, 7. Well, and it was because of that fucking scale with the smiley face.
Absolutely, you're gonna get the narco level. Yeah, absolutely.
I think that needs to be addressed. Seriously addressed.
Well,
because if you're in an ER, you're not happy.
Yeah. Well, and that's typical. I mean, ER is typically always going to give you a prescription for some kind of pain. That's absolutely typical. Yeah.
So anyway, I get it. Like, that was a situation where, let's say they gave somebody who experienced the drug differently, or who had, you know, a different personality, or whatever it is that makes people become druggies.
Right, yeah.
And they just like go crazy with this. Like, I can't. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Hydrocodone is the greatest thing that's ever happened.
It is awesome. And yeah, it's awesome. Yeah.
I think that it's pretty average.
It's awesome.
But
it's the shit. Yeah.
So anyway,
I mean, particularly if you break it up and you try to snort it, but you'll probably get like a pretty serious burn effect on that. Not that I'm speaking from experience, I'm just saying. But it's awesome. So, you know, there are people who you bust it up, you know, turn it into a dust, you inhale it, That shit's immediate. That shit is immediate, and then
I feel like we need to end this.
But it's a bad initial experience, and then it's great after that. But yeah, drugs are awesome. I mean, that's why they're so fucking prevalent. Drugs are fucking awesome. That's why they have such wide appeal.
I feel like this probably violates several YouTube policies.
Whatever, it probably does, but it is the fucking truth. That is why drugs are so goddamn prevalent. Nobody would be doing drugs if they weren't fucking awesome. It's just that they have just awful, just life-ending consequences, wrapped up in them. That's the issue. Fucking life-ending consequences.
Anyway, I was happy to see that he talked about that, even though I'm not 100% sure how he's going to.
Right, the federal government. What is the federal government's role in that?
And then, what else we got here? I didn't feel like he talked enough about international relations.
Oh God, there was nothing, right?
There was. He talked about peace through strength, and he talked about the end of the sequester.
God, I don't know where Defense Department. Yeah, okay. Yeah.
I don't know where that money is coming from. I don't know where the wall came from.
I'm not concerned about the defense. I feel like we're probably in pretty good shape, but yeah.
I felt like speaking out against releasing terrorists back into the wild is a pretty safe political opinion.
Sure.
Because like barring the expense, I'm fairly certain that shoot them into the sun would get better than 50% approval rating.
Sure.
We took Bin Laden, we shot him into the sun.
I think we shot him into the sea, but yeah.
We did.
I think we went the opposite direction, but yeah.
Undisclosed location.
Yeah.
Gitmo, fine, whatever.
Did he say anything about fucking Gitmo? Jesus Christ.
He said he's going to keep it open.
All right. Okay. Whatever.
And don't send money to people who hate us.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Well, that's a good tip.
He said about North Korea that we were going to maintain maximum pressure. I have no fucking idea.
Right. Whatever the fuck with North Korea. Yeah. God damn it.
And then actually at that point, he went on like this really weird tangent about America and monuments, and there's a statue, and the statue's on top of this building, and this building is a monument.
Oh,
to the idea
yeah.
Freedom. And like I was having a really tough time following that.
Really?
But
yeah,
I was like, what's the fucking point?
Yeah.
What are you trying to say? And the point was that the speech was coming to an end.
Yeah.
I actually felt like it ended up being kind of a good segue into Joe Kennedy's speech.
Oh, interesting. Okay. I actually did like that moment. I actually did like him calling out that the institution, the building itself, in which he's giving this speech is a monument. I actually did kind of appreciate that a little bit. Even though he's the last fucking person on the face of the planet that I would like to have giving that speech. I did appreciate that point, to recognize the historical value and the legacy of the place in which he's giving this speech.
I guess that makes sense. I was looking at it from a very utilitarian point of view, which was like, what are you trying to sell me?
Yeah, well, yeah.
Like,
I mean, he is a salesman. Yeah.
But in all, it was just like a bunch of meandering nonsense to me, and then of course, that's why it seemed to kind of go into Kennedy's thing for me.
Okay.
I think we both watched Kennedy's thing, right?
Yes. I mean, there's only one thing I remember about it, but yes.
Go for it. You tell your one thing.
Okay. The one thing that I remember about it was that it was given in, I think, an auto plant, right?
It looked like some sort of warehouse that could service automobiles.
That is what I remembered about it, which I thought was very apropos. I thought the Democratic Party remembers that there are blue collar workers in the United States of America. that is the impression that I got overall. The other thing I thought was that like he kind of looks like he grew up in a magazine, like a magazine about America. Like, so you played baseball and you know, you had a girlfriend in high school and you had a letter jacket. That's what I remember about that speech. That's significant stuff, which I thought was absolutely something that the Democratic Party needed to fucking address. But yeah, like, yeah.
I'm going to take that with a hint of sarcasm.
I think they did what they needed to fucking do. And
I don't think that it was a disaster.
No.
But it felt really fucking weird.
Yeah.
To me.
You know, it felt like it was fucking product tested and god damn it, and it went through a couple of fucking committees, and that's what we ended up with. You know, I'm not surprised by it. Like, I'm not surprised by it at all. It felt like, yeah, man, we need to address these goddamn blue collar workers. So what if we put this fucking speech in the middle of a goddamn warehouse? Yeah, of course.
Yeah. How on the nose can it
exactly.
be?
Yeah, exactly.
I guess my first thought was, naturally, oh great, another Kennedy.
Yes, yeah, of course. Yeah.
And then I thought his teleprompters were too far apart.
Maybe, yeah, maybe.
I think a little bit. He was looking way off to the right.
I don't know. I think I was maybe a
left.
little too distracted by his hair to notice that. But yeah.
Isn't it weird how it kind of like does little curls at the very end?
Yeah, I don't know.
I had a fucking weird dream about this.
About Kennedy. That's sad.
Yes. Maybe we shouldn't go into that.
No, don't. Leave it a mystery, because then I can invent whatever fucking story I want.
No.
It's weird. Like underwear involved, and yeah.
So like, okay, here's the dream.
So like a sexual identity crisis. That's what I don't want you to ruin it now. Now I want it to be kind of a crisis a little bit for Tactic Angel. I don't want him to explain it to me.
So what happens is like I walk across the street.
Okay.
And you will understand this immediately as a dream, because at no point would this have actually applied to a situation where I actually
Oh my
lived.
God, this might be my favorite episode now. Instead of the Star Trek episode, now it's this one. So
I walk across the street where there's a fucking school.
Okay.
And I have no idea why there's a school, because I've never lived across the street from a school.
Right.
And there's Joe Kennedy.
Okay.
And
so
he's just there.
He's at a school.
And he's in like cut off overalls.
Oh boy, this is getting better and better by the minute.
And he's got a hose and he's spraying dog shit off of the sidewalk.
All right, and he's spraying dog shit. Okay.
And I'm like, what's going on? And Joe looks at me and he's like, it's because all the black people who lived down the street. And I'm like,
man, this is a crazy dream. Okay.
What is it? And like I look at it and he's like, can you help me? And I'm like, whatever,
right,
man, just like, you need to move along.
Okay.
And so I help him and I wake up and I'm like, why is Joe Kennedy in my dream?
Why is he ejaculating dog shit all over your dream? Right, yeah.
No, he's got a hose.
Right, but he's ejaculating dog shit all over your dream. Okay.
No. No. So, and I think like, I remember when I was listening to it, it was like he was describing like a version of America that I have no connection with whatsoever.
Okay.
And it's like, there's all this hate.
Yes.
Marches through the streets, something. And I'm like, what?
Right.
Okay.
Well, the white supremacy thing, but yeah.
I said hate, but anyway.
Right. I mean, those happen.
I assume that's what he meant.
Yeah, the white supremacy. Yeah, of course. Of course that is what he meant. The white supremacy shit in the wake of Trump's election.
Do you mean
the fucking
dream?
You know,
Joe Kennedy.
Of course, that's what I don't know. He's ejaculating dog shit in your dream. I don't know.
This has gone way.
I know it's a really kind of like a little bit of an insight into Tactic Angel's psychology, which I'm really into.
I have
but
I have very metaphoric dreams.
You do. This redheaded motherfucker ejaculating dog shit all over the place in your dream. This is my favorite episode.
He was
5-star episode.
He was trying to spray the dog shit off of the sidewalk. I'm not sure what the significance of the sidewalk was.
That's interesting, but he's trying to spray it off of the sidewalk. It's almost like he's ejaculating truth across the sidewalk to get the dog shit away from it, right?
I'm not really sure what the importance of that verb is for you.
Well, it's very important because of sperm. But yeah. This episode just gets better and better.
I think it's you.
Okay. Joe Kennedy.
I also did
dog shit.
I don't understand. Like at the same time, he was impugning everyone about creating divisions in America.
Yes.
And then also in the course of like a sentence or two saying essentially the people who make a lot of money are terrible.
So yeah, I mean, I think generally his argument is Trump is a divisive figure. He's attempting to divide us, which is what you would expect, I think, from the Democratic response in general, right? That it's the same thing that fucking Obama was accused of during his presidency, that he's trying to divide. He's a very divisive figure, all of that shit. Now it's just coming from the Democratic Party. Trump is now an extremely divisive figure. He's a fucking bully. All of that shit. I mean, it's just pretty standard, I think, political rhetoric. Honestly, the only thing remarkable about it, that I thought was that the Democrats realized that they lost the fucking vote of your average blue collar worker, particularly along the Midwest. And that's who they're trying to appeal to with this fucking speech. That seems to be the entire motivation behind it. I'm not surprised by it. So, it just looks like they're recognizing where they lost in 2016, and they're trying to make up the ground. So, I don't know what effect it really had on anybody. Time will tell.
Were there any policies articulated?
No, of course. Well, it's a State of the fucking Union, and it's a goddamn reaction to the State of the Union. There's no fucking policy in any of that shit. None of this has really ever been about policy. It's always been drawn along ideological fucking boundaries. It's the antithesis of pragmatism. Every goddamn State of the Union, and this is no exception. Nobody gives a fuck about what the pragmatic reality is for your average American. That's always been the case. That will continue to be the case. It's easier to exaggerate, to engage in hyperbole, to try to terrify fucking people. That's that's politics in America, and it's been that way for a long time. This isn't any different from that. So I would like to see a political candidate who only gives a fuck about what the pragmatic consequences are for most American citizens. That's who I would like to see. That will never fucking happen. But that's who I would particularly like to see. I think the president of the United States, especially the government at a federal level, should be concerned the most with pragmatic consequences for the majority of its constituents. I don't, we'll never fucking see that. Because there's no money in it, but there's no.
We'll see, and I think in part, you might do some word substitution if we were to ever get to somebody, because you simply wouldn't agree with their pragmatism.
I don't know, man. Pragmatism goes a long fucking way. It goes a goddamn long way for me.
So you think that you would be able to agree with somebody who believed that they were coming to a pragmatic conclusion, even if you disagreed with
if the pragmatic conclusion was pretty goddamn coherent, like I don't know what else they would really need to justify at that point. I mean,
but you could still disagree with it.
I guess
because everything is based on projections. Everything's based on
but at least there's math behind that. But yeah, I mean, at least
but there's social science too, because like the behavior of people and what people are expecting and whatnot, that all matters.
Of course it does. Yeah.
Of whether or not you view something as pragmatic.
Yeah, of course it does. Well, yeah, so absolutely. What people believe, yes, especially what your voter fucking believes, necessarily plays into that equation. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. So if your voter fucking believes that like all the Mexicans are taking their fucking jobs, right? Then yeah, the pragmatic decision is to lean into that to get the fucking vote in the first. Like, I mean, I get it from that perspective, but I don't really think that's how most Americans. I'm
not talking about most Americans, because I'm not going to talk to most of them.
Well, and most of them voted against Trump, but yeah.
That's not true. Most of them didn't vote at all.
Well, that's true. Most of them didn't vote, and the second most didn't vote for Trump. Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway, do you have any closing thoughts?
Donald Trump, best president ever. That's my closing thought.
Hashtag not all Donald Trump.
Not all Donald Trump, but I don't know, man. I don't know. What do you really say about this the State of the Union? I mean, the most unique thing is that, right? Donald Trump is a celebrity persona. He wasn't a politician prior to this election. He became the fucking president of the United States through means that I don't think anyone understands. He delivered a State of the Union that was pretty in line with State of the Unions in the past. What do you really say? I think I don't know that there's much of substance really to say about his particular State of the Union. People will continue to believe what they want to believe about Trump, whether he's fighting the good fight for America or whether he is just a racist son of a bitch. I don't think either of those things are fucking true. But that I guess overall, from as divorced and as sober a perspective as I can attempt to maintain now, like 6 goddamn fucking glasses of Glenlivet into this, if he's the best that America has to offer, that's a sad thing to say about the United States of America. But Is he representative of the divide of is he representative of kind of how irrational I think America and American political discourse has become? Then he's the perfect president for us, because I do think that the American people have lost and are generally at this time incapable of coherent political discourse. He is kind of the perfect representative for us. We have gotten way too divisive and way too fucking polarized and way too goddamn irrational that it absolutely makes sense that Donald fucking Trump is our president at this point. And he is more of a reflection of us as a people than he is of anything else. I don't know. That's what I would say, I guess.
That's really deep, midget radio.
Thank you. That's like 7 glasses of fucking Glenlivet in. So, you know.
Well, my judgment may be askew as well.
That's true too. That's also true. I understand that. I understand the handicap there. Yeah.
All right. Well, I guess that has been episode number 45.
No.
Yes.
No.
Yeah. What?
I want to say I love this country. I love this fucking country, and I love our people, and I love that even as divided as we are as a people, I love us as a country, and I think we have a lot to speak for us. I think we've done a lot of great things. I think we're better than Trump. I think we're better than the arguments and the divide that we found ourselves in. And I think we'll rise above it at some point. But I love Tactic Angel, but you know.
Okay. I think that the people who don't understand the parenthetical hashtag not all left quite some time ago.
Not all Tactic Angels.
And you can certainly be critical of your country.
Yes.
While certainly loving it.
Of course. Yeah.
I don't think that you should have to say that.
God, I think we have lost that. But yeah, I think we do have to say that now. I can be critical of America, but not hate America at the same time. Yeah. I think that does actually need to be said. But
I don't think that it does.
But I don't know.
Whatever. Do you have any other heart-to-hearts that you'd like to make before I end this for real?
I love Gina Carano.
I do too.
Okay.
All right, well, that has been episode number 45 of the Wednesday Night Gentleman Multimedia Empire official podcast. Please feel free to give us a like if you enjoyed this video, subscribe to our channel, and also subscribe to us on Twitter, where we are at WNG_MME_OPC, or head on over to Facebook, where we are simply the Wednesday Night Gentleman. Thank you, everyone, for listening, and we'll see you again on episode number 46 of this podcast.
Bye-bye.